Skoda's 4th generation Fabia makes up in sense and practicality for anything it might lack in dynamic looks and pin-sharp handling. All the latest VW Group chassis technology has finally made it to this Super Mini model line, and the result is a very complete product indeed.
This car knows its market. It may share just about everything with the supposedly sporty Seat Ibiza, but the comfort-orientated drive dynamics here are more Volkswagen Polo or Audi A1. As with all those models, virtually the whole Fabia range is based around 1 litre petrol power, as was the facelifted version of the previous generation model. Very little's changed beneath the bonnet since then. But, as we'll see, ride quality here, aided by the switch to the VW Group's more modern MQB A0 platform, has been finessed to the point where it's difficult to better in this class. And the little TSI turbo power plant you'll probably want in this car, as tested here, is as engaging as ever. Like its predecessor, this Fabia impresses when it comes to low-speed manoeuvrability. Its light steering, tight turning circle, and great all-round visibility making town travel easy. As you might expect, at higher speeds the helm isn't exactly full of feedback, but it's reasonably communicative and you always know what the front tyres are doing. Overall, there's still a real maturity in the way this car drives, which makes it appropriate that TSI engine versions of this model can now be had with an optional dose of the Volkswagen Group's latest semi-autonomous drive tech. That's still a rare thing to find in a Super Mini, and primarily here this means inclusion of the company's travel assist system, as seen on the brand's larger models. It's a setup capable of taking over the steering, braking and acceleration of this car at speeds starting from 19 miles an hour with a manual gearbox, or 0 miles an hour if you specified the DSG Auto. The travel assist setup then working in either case right up to the car's maximum speed. That's providing the driver keeps their hands on the new capacitive steering wheel. This 4th generation Fabia gets a more athletic, sculptural, sharply drawn design. Replace the badge on the glossy, wide radiator grille, and you could easily be persuaded that this was a Super Mini from one of the posher brands in the VW Group. But can we really still call this a Super Mini? This Mark IV design exceeds the 4 metre mark for the first time. It's 111 millimetres longer than its predecessor, is the largest conventional contender in the small hatch class, and is pretty much as big as the original Mark I Octavia family hatch that Skoda launched into the aforementioned segment back in 1996. Let's switch our focus to the front. A revolution in design language is what Chief Designer Oliver Stefani and his team were aiming for. We're not sure that we've got that, but this 4th generation Fabia certainly has a bit more overtaking presence. That striking hexagonal grille flanked by razor-sharp narrow LED headlights. At the rear, there are smarter crystalline LED taillights and horizontal surfacing that emphasises this 4th generation model's 48mm increase in width. Inside, it feels quite sophisticated if you get a version like this one with Skoda's 10.25-inch virtual cockpit instrument screen, though you could argue that sticking with conventional analogue dials is more suited to this Fabia's sensible vibe. If you're fed up with frivolous small car design, you'll fit right in with a Fabia. Not that this is a character-free zone. The 2-spoke wheel is unusual, and large circular air vents with glossy, smart serrated edges decorate the corners of the dash. More importantly, these front chairs are supportively shaped and, impressively for a Super Mini, include lumbar support with virtually all models. There's a choice of 3 sizes for this central infotainment screen: 6.5, 8 inches, which is what we have here, and 9.2 inches for the top Amundsen navigation setup. Build quality from the Mlada Boleslav factory seems strong, and this is an undeniably practical interior with 16 different oddment spaces, accounting for a total storage volume of 106 litres. Right, let's take a stroll rearwards, pausing on the way to notice that almost uniquely Skoda touch, a pull-out umbrella in its own compartment, secreted into the door. A standard feature from the mid-range models upwards. And once inside here at the rear, well, you couldn't call it spacious. No super mini segment car can ever be that, but by the standards of the class, there's an impressive amount of room here. That fresh platform really pays off in terms of footwell space. It's now just about possible for one 6-foot adult to sit behind another, though in such a situation, the rear person's knees would be rather buried in the front seat backs. Plus, headroom is unbettered in the class. Time to check out the cargo area. Now, once you've negotiated a fairly high loading lip, you'll find 380 litres of luggage space back here. That's 50 litres more than the previous generation model and is much the same as you get from a car in the next segment up, like a Golf or a Focus. With everything retracted, 1,190 litres of space will be freed up, though the floor area, unfortunately, isn't quite flat. And that'll have to be enough because, as mentioned earlier, there's no longer an alternative estate body style on offer. All of which leaves us, well, where? It's true there are certainly more stylish and sharper handling cars you could choose in this class, but many of them will cost you quite a lot more. If instead you focus on the things you're actually going to most need in a Super Mini of this kind, ease of use, low running costs, practicality, it becomes clear that a Fabia now ticks a lot of those boxes more emphatically than ever before. It's still a car in this class that you can't ignore. It may not be the small runabout you've ideally dreamed of owning, but as ever, it could very well be the one you actually need.